All-Star Batman issue 6, Scott Snyder writing and Jock on art. And who did the backup? Because I didn't note that down. I forgot.
Oh, I didn't read it, so I don't know.
I can find out. Just give me a second to find the page because it's not on the front cover.
Oh, that is upsetting. That just creates work for us, and that's what they should do. They should put the credits on the page with a recap after the front cover.
Oh, of course. I've just looked at it. That was Francesca Francavilla.
Okay, cool.
It was?
Yeah, I've just looked at it. It's like, of course it is.
Anyway, so All-Star Batman issue 6. Obviously, this is the start of a new arc. We have a Mr. Freeze story, Jock's on art, and it's Batman looking for Mr. Freeze. What's the exact location? Is it Alaska?
300 miles north of the Arctic Circle.
North of the Arctic Circle, okay, right.
Yeah.
And he's looking for.
Well, she could be anywhere, really, because once you get up there,
he's in his freeze suit. You know, he's bat freeze suit, which is fine because he knows he's getting into these conditions. I accept that he has a bat freeze suit, and he's looking for Mr. Freeze. First and foremost, I will say this: art is gorgeous, as you'd expect from Jock.
It's Jock, and the letterers too. They made it seem more like prose.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Which I love. This is easily my favorite issue of All-Star Batman.
Yeah.
Can I just take a brief second? I love the last issue.
Oh yeah, he wants to kill because he would miss the last one.
Moving on.
I'll keep it real brief. I love the last issue. I thought it was fantastic. It was my favorite issue of those first 5, and it made me retroactively enjoy 2 through 4 even more. And I like 1 a lot more than you did in the first place.
Oh dear.
And so overall, I'm a big fan of that arc now.
I can agree in something that I'm glad it's over. This now. So
let's move past this. Let's move past this.
That's that.
Let's talk about issue 6.
But what I wanted to point out about the prose is it's not bubbles covering up Jock's art.
Yeah,
which
that's nice.
is great.
I love the prose. I think it gave the issue. It added to the tone again on top of the art. It made it feel like someone was telling the story of Batman going out into the wilderness, in this case snow, to find Freeze. Like he's going after a wild animal out there somewhere that's up to something.
And his army of White Walkers.
So I like that. I even like the plot of Mr. Freeze. He's waking up all these people who have tried to cryogenically freeze themselves. He's woke them all up early because the technology doesn't exist yet to actually bring them back to life, but he's brought them back.
Move, really.
Yeah.
But
he's brought them all back.
version of Passengers.
Yeah. He's brought them back as his army. Right? I like that. I've got some plot concerns later on in the book that I will mention, but the way the story moves, Batman looking for them, Freeze looks great, every time you see him with the goggles on,
which is awesome too, because it's so cold up there he doesn't need the suit, so you get to see like a different version of him. It's normally
like this real
see.
Skinny guy. He's always in this suit. There's no real muscle on him, but
he feels intimidating. Jock of course draws a lot of horror stuff, and it feels like a horror story. It reminded me a lot of The Thing, the way he's going into this base, in the snow.
Yeah, I was actually reading an interview with Snyder. It just kind of popped up I think it was on the DC Comics website. And they talk about how The Thing was the biggest inspiration for it. You talk about zombies as well.
Yeah.
Which
is obviously, you can kind of see it in there.
His army are making these weird E sounds.
Yeah.
Which is hard for me to place, But yeah, I definitely gave him a zombie quality, and they all look similar to Freeze. They got the red eyes, like Pete was saying, and no hair. So,
However, I do have two issues, 2 problems with this issue. First one's kind of minor, although it's more of an issue because it's Snyder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So in the Batman Annual from the New 52, the first one, he wrote a Mr. Freeze story which turned the origin of Mr. Freeze on its head. The twist in that issue they made it different was that Mr. Freeze, of course, has always been like, oh, my wife Nora's had a disease, I've frozen her, and I'm trying to find the solution to bring her back and make her healthy. That's always been his thing, ever since the Batman animated series set that up.
Yeah, Heart of Ice.
Yeah, Heart of Ice, that's the episode. Ever since that's been the thing. He turned it on its head by revealing that Mr. Freeze was actually crazy, and the woman that he'd frozen and had been calling his wife Nora was actually just some woman who was already in a coma or whatever when he met her, and it was a psychotic thing. And I actually quite like that twist on it, even though I like the older version. I thought, oh, that's actually quite a cool little thing that makes him really...
Well, because to Freeze, it is his wife. That's not the reality, that's his reality.
Yeah.
So it still works.
Yeah, but here, the way he talks, it doesn't sound like that's the case anymore.
No, I don't think so, because Batman says your wife.
Yeah, so...
honestly, I think that's probably an editorial mandate in both instances. Like, the first one was... it's New 52. Everything needs to be different and edgy. Let's give Mr. Freeze a
don't
different
know.
twist.
I just feel like All Star is not really continuity anymore. I feel it's just Snyder
feels that
telling
way.
the stories he wants to tell. And if that's the case, cool, because it's not my go-to Batman book.
The funny thing is, though, is I wouldn't have a problem with this change. Really, I would be like, okay, I get that they've just changed it. But the fact that it's him who wrote that annual is what makes it feel a bit weird
like
to me.
I say, I feel like it's editorial in both instances. One was we need it to be different because it was New 52 and everything had to have a different edge on it.
See, I don't know, because Snyder was always kind of left alone by editorial to tell the stories he wanted.
But it was an annual. I feel like that was the thing. It never really tied into anything again in his run. So it was kind of just like,
if anything, him being left alone was what caused the problem of his run going off the deep end as the further it went on.
Perhaps.
Now the
other issue feels like, again, the editorial telling, it's Rebirth. We've got everything's got to be how people like it. Which you said you liked the twist that it wasn't actually his wife, but most people I recall were quite angry that they'd changed it for the sake of changing it.
I thought it was a nice dark twist. A lot of things in the New 52 I didn't like, but that was one little change that I thought, that actually kind of works.
But again, to Victor, Nora's his wife, and he's looking for a cure.
I don't know. I liked it, but I know there was a large amount of people who were against it.
As I told those people that I would argue with, it doesn't change his motivation. He's still Freeze. It's just, again, if someone wants to ignore that, they can. It just shouldn't be the person that created it that's ignoring it.
Yeah, that's just the part that's weird. The other problem I have in the issue, from a plot point, so this is the bigger one because it's actually kind of what's going on, is I did think it wasn't as bad as some of the stuff in the last arc and other stuff that Snyder's pulled with Batman, don't get me wrong. But the whole, I snuck a virus in my body to kill the deadly stuff in the ice.
Yeah.
That's just like, oh, come on, this is really over the top and absurd. I had a problem with that.
I mean, but I love the visuals of it, so I don't care.
I think Batman looks stupid when he's got all the stuff on his arms. That's honestly...
I'm refraining.
It was the color.
Y'all know how I feel.
Matt Hollingsworth absolutely killed it. Jock obviously does a great job, but Hollingsworth with the colors here made it stand out and made it worth it for me.
I'll be honest, this issue, I was thinking, oh man, this is actually a great issue. I was really into it. I was loving it. This was on track to a 9 out of 10 kind of thing for me. And then this virus trapped in his body happened, and it plummeted about 2 points. So
I like the bat hand warmers that he made. So he was just basically superheating batarangs and keeping them in his gauntlet.
Don't get me wrong. I still think it's the best issue. It's definitely my favorite of the All-Star run.
Snyder needs a break from Batman. I
hate all this
switches.
I hate all this stuff that he gives back, all this extra tech and these weird ideas to get him out of situations. They all feel so convoluted and ridiculous. And
don't forget his last arc of Batman proper, the main title, he had Dionysium, which was the end all be all, thing. It was immortality thing.
Yeah.
So, it's just Snyder. Again, I feel he needs a break. Go finish Witches. Give us some good American Vampire. Maybe a follow-up to The Wake, something like that. And then come back.
Yeah, I loved this issue. I'm sorry, I loved it.
I loved it until
Hit the button, Pete.
I loved it until the last chunk where the whole virus thing came into it. But it's kind of frustrating because I think there's still the Snyder Batman I like is still in there somewhere, but he keeps ruining it for me with these ideas that I just can't get behind, and it took me right out of the issue. So my favorite,
I was totally down for it.
Of course you were, but you've said that about the whole arc. So
no. I was I was also not completely sold on issues 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
I was more positive than you guys, but I was still kind of not loving it. 5 I thought was excellent, and this I loved. I thought it was phenomenal.
So just to be clear, Matt, you agree about the whole heat virus thing?
Oh, do I agree? Yes, I agree.
I wanted a confirmation. That's all.
Well, that's when I got to the point. I'm reading. I'm like, yeah, this is good. Oh man, Bat virus, cool. All right, I'm done.
To be fair, they never call it a bat virus.
Yeah, but I did, and that's what counts.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that plot. revelation. I liked everything up about the issue up until that point, and then it shot itself in the foot from him. So there you go.
Did you read the backup?
I did. So Riddler's trapped someone in a building, and you tell me what was the backup about? I'm hazy on it.
It's a guy from the Bloom stuff, right?
I don't know.
That's right. Yeah. It referenced that was the other weird thing that he's changed.
I think it was maybe in the flashback issue of the Bloom stuff.
Yeah. But here, get this. So he changed what his version of Mr. Freeze was. Yet the same issue references other stuff from the New 52.
Well, yeah, that's because.
Come on, that's weird.
For all intents and purposes, this is still the New 52 universe. That has been solidified, right?
Well, yeah, but that's not my point. My point is they've changed part of it, but in the same issue they've referenced other parts of it.
But they changed Lobo back without any word of mention. Which actually, I have a point on that when we get to one of my books later on.
Okay.
But it's just these things where the editorial's going, well, things need to be fixed, so let's just change a few things here and there. And I think Freeze was one of them. Whereas Bloom, they're like, I can stay.
Okay.
Yeah, but Bloom was terrible.
I'm not defending the story. I'm just.
To be fair, Matt, I don't think Bloom himself was bad. Everything else that happened in the arc.
handled it though. Yeah.
Everything else that happened in the arc was bad.
I was talking about the story, not the character.
Yeah. Bloom himself was a really creepy-looking villain, so.
Yeah. Well, and you should have those characters that can pop up. Like that's what I liked about Morrison's run. Is he created people like Mr. Pig and El Sombrero. And then just kind of left them to the wild. So if somebody wants to come and write Batman, they can play with these new toys.
They showed up in that animated show, Beware the Batman.
Yeah, I do like Mr. Pig.
Yeah, Mr. Pig was in like the very first episode, I think. Of that.
Oh, don't tease me with El Sombrero.
Mr. Pig.
It was actually not bad.
Mr. Pig even popped up in one of the video games, Matt.
Ooh.
So Mr. Pig's like a proper in the canon now. He's one of the Batman rogues.
But so I like the idea that you have these villains that you can add to and play with later. That you don't need payoff for right then. Because that's kind of like, that's the Joker. When they created the Joker, they didn't give him a definitive, this is exactly who he is. That came over 70 years, and it's still being reinterpreted. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I did read the backup. I don't think I took a lot of it in, though, because I feel like it's been 2 months since the last one, because the last issue didn't have the backup.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I didn't even notice they didn't until
it's
just
been kind of really 3 weeks, because issue 5 is super late. So.
That's not over a month, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 months since this issue, because this is back on schedule now. So.
Oh, that's right. So
okay. 2 months as well as 2 issues.
All right, we're on book 4 out of 1100.
Anything you'd like to say about the backup cover before we move on? I don't have anything.
No, I mean, again, I think it was maybe the weakest backup storyline yet, because I don't know, it just felt like that. But I really like the art, so I was just happy looking at the pretty pictures. Sometimes that's all right for 5 pages.
Has Damian met Duke?
Don't think so.
I assume so.
Well, I mean, maybe, but I've not read it. I've certainly not read any meetings with them.
If anyone's listening can point me in that direction, I would love.
That's just a good point, because Damien went off and did something when he came back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, what's he doing now? He must be. He's hanging around with Bruce, so he must have.
Yeah, but I'm feeling like Duke's only there for Snyder. Like I don't feel anyone else is picking up Duke's story.
He popped up once in
Batman.
He popped in a couple of times in the first Batman arc, but
yeah,
and it set him up like he's going to play a fairly major role going forward in Batman.
That's right.
That said, if he doesn't, I won't be complaining.
No, I would just love for him to go. Oh, look, another Robin. Hey, you know what happened to the last one, right?
That would be amusing. And I think I'm just assuming they've met because they're both in the same area, but I haven't seen it.
No, don't get me wrong. From a logic point of view, it makes sense that they would have, but I don't think it's actually popped up in a book yet. At least not one
I just want to read that because look how he treats Tim and how he's treated Stephanie before. And they're both not that they're both Robins. I just mean that as Batman's like assistant kind of title.
Yeah.